Hey, what's up, YouTube? So today I wanted to talk about my decision, or it can be a decision to go full stack Nuxt, which sounds so radical since we all know Nuxt as a front-end framework. I'll try and talk about my reasons behind this. Yeah, and let's see how this goes. Later we're gonna try to do something simple with Nuxt and see how it looks and talk about the drawbacks so that you don't just jump into this. I don't think it is ready to be full stack yet, but the future is promising. Yeah, so this is not going to be a deep dive into the Nuxt framework. Maybe I'll do that later, but this is me trying to show how I've decided that I'm going all in on this. Like, I don't want to context switch whenever I'm doing projects, especially when you're doing solo projects. Switching between a separate backend and a separate frontend is hard. And of course, there are existing solutions. And yeah, I'm going to try and talk a little bit about why I didn't pick those. Yeah, so first of all, a general introduction to Nuxt, not a deep one, of course. So from the landing page, it is a progressive web framework. Uh, Create high quality web application with Nuxt, the open source framework that makes full stack development with Vue.js intuitive. Yeah, so they're now mentioning full stack development. I'm not sure if let me see. Yeah, yeah. So if you check out Next version 2, the intuitive Vue framework, build your Vue 2 application with confidence using Next 2, the open source framework for making web development simple and powerful. So in Next 2, you can clearly see that they were not positioning themselves as a full stack framework. So what happened? What's the difference between Next 2 and Next 3? So I'm just gonna try and look for something here. I don't know if it's they have it, concept structures, directory structure, plugins, this directory, modules, pages, static. Yeah, I think they're missing the server-side page, which I'll show you later. So, but clearly you can see in Next 2, yeah, it was just a web framework. Next 3, it is a full stack development framework. And we're gonna dive into the reasons behind that shortly. But first, I wanted to address the things I love about Vue.js in general. And one of them is on this side, on the example here. So what we have here is a full page. This is an entire page for a Next application. So you start with your logic, the script. On top, you can put it anywhere, but it is now generally the convention. We start with the script, we write our JavaScript here or our TypeScript. Then this is where the markup is, the template. So you can see you have the h1 tag, hello Next, then it will print the version, which is up here. Then you can style your component, and styles are general in the application uh, by default. But if you put this scoped, this styling will only affect the current component. You can already see how intuitive Vue.js is and why I love it. This is Vue. Next also adds some cool stuff like this. When you're writing normal Vue applications, of course you have to handle routing and stuff like that. But in Next, you just create a page, a file, a Vue file or .tx in the pages folder, and automatically it will create your routing for you. It has a very intuitive data fetching. If you use fetch, for example, and your SSR, it won't make HTTP request. It will just call the server-side function or method directly, which saves you network and bandwidth, and automatically print that. Then there's another thing, there's automatic imports. Like if you have a component, for example, like my input here, you don't have to import it manually as long as it is in the components folder. That's it. And many other, even the composables, like say hello.tx, yeah, stuff like that. Then of course now the secret sauce that makes now full stack Next. export, default, define functions, and yeah. So this is it. So this is Nuxt in a nutshell. And now, next, let me talk about what makes the server side possible or the full stack aspect possible. Yeah, so in Nuxt 3, the team invested a lot in the entire ecosystem, and they they came up or they built this framework called Nitro. So Nitro is the next generation server toolkit. And yeah, just like it. So create web servers with everything you need and deploy them wherever you prefer. And this is another advantage over the legacy tools like Express with TypeScript and other ones. So Nitro, of course, it's a whole entire cool ecosystem. So Nitro is built on top of another framework called H3. H3. So H3 is now, if you don't Nitro because it's too big for you, you want just to create a simple API, the same way you'd use Express.js. So if you love Express.js, there's Nitro. So Nitro is universal, tiny fast servers, HTTP server framework built on top of web standards for high performance and composability. And if you look at the syntax, it looks kinda like the the way you do Express.js, but with modern features. Like you don't have to worry about TypeScript, you don't have to worry about other stuff. Yeah, it is like if you create new, the way you do in Express, upload get this, then instead of having rec, res, like in Express, where you go into a callback hell, you just pass an event, and tada, you have your very simple server. So this is ideal for creating simple servers to serve quick things, blah, 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 and stuff like that. Now let us go back to Nitro. Yeah, and of course, this one is also built on small ecosystems that enable Nitro to work. Then, of course, H3 to work. Then this now brings up Nitro, which adds more features. So Nitro is the backend of Nuxt.js. So whenever you go to, for example, let's go here. I'll skip the rest, not a deep dive for Nuxt today. But if you go to the server, of course, the description for the server up there, you'll find syntax like this. This is how you handle events with the server side. So you can see the file name is called server API test.ts. So with Nitro, you don't manually create root files like route.get API test. Instead, you just create a file into the server API test, and Nitro automatically will generate a route for you. And this is how you now create your handler for that. So you export default event handler and do whatever you want here. As simple as that, as intuitive as that. So beautifully done. Like the mental load is so easy on you. And of course, the key here is universal deployment. So traditionally, if you've done anything, you've deployed a lot of Express.js, maybe, or other Node.js, there's a challenge of deployment. One, you have to build it on the server that you're deploying to and other stuff. But here, you can build on the pipeline, then copy over the output to the server. And this can run in Cloudflare workers, even Netlify functions, and now it even runs on Vercel. So this means you can deploy a full stack Next application the same way you deploy things like Next. Yep. Now, so that's it. So Nitro is where the magic happens and makes this possible. So if you check out Nitro, it is build web server using H3 and lots of built-in features. Nitro automatically makes your code compatible with any deployment provider and runtime. Who wouldn't want that? Yeah. So already I've talked about the simple things that make Nitro a very good choice for this. Now maybe it's time I mention why I've decided this is the way I want to go. Of course, it's not ready. Like for example, if you go to the SQL database, they say database support is currently experimental, Then you can refer to DBO issues for the status and bug report, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, wouldn't recommend for any serious production code, but if you're a risk taker like me, yeah, please do it. And Nitro comes with other cool stuff like key value storage. Yeah, you don't have to worry about installing Redis manually and configuring it. You just call use storage, set item test.foo. Then you can also specify the mechanism for storing it. Of course, we have tasks. Tasks, if you're using something like Laravel, tasks are something like background jobs that you can run on your application. We have cache, we have fetch, which is a better way of doing fetch. Calling things from your server side. You can call external things from your server side. You can have assets, plugin configuration. Then there's something I wanted to mention. Yeah, you don't even have to worry about TypeScript by the way. If you want to extend it, cool. But by default, it comes with TypeScript configure. You don't even have to think about it. You have type safety from the word go, and you're good to go. Then, of course, in the configuration, they're adding cool features like now. Yeah. So yeah, that was a very long introduction. So let us talk about why the reason why I feel I should be migrating. So for the longest time, uh, this has been my go-to for full stack development. Laravel. I don't know what they did with the landing page. Damn, is this an ad? Damn, everything is getting worse these days. Anyway, so Laravel is a web application framework with expressive, elegant syntax, blah, 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 blah. So Laravel is undisputably one of the most robust frameworks on the planet. Like, look at all these features. If you go click on the basics, there's routing, middleware, CSRF protection, controllers, requests, responses, views, blah, blah, blah. Laravel is so robust that even a complete beginner can be able to ship secure software because it handles, as long as they follow what's in the documentation, they don't have to worry about rolling their own auth because it's secure. The framework does it for you. They don't have to worry about writing shitty code because it does it for you. It has localization, it has mail, notification is easy to do, processes, queues, rate limiting, out. Yeah, so as a developer using Laravel, all you have to do is just focus on your business logic. If your application is selling bananas, you don't have to worry about rate limiting. You just have to write the code for it to import rate limiting. Like, for example, let's see here. Did I lose it? So if you go to rate limiting, look at how simple it is to do. Yeah, you just call rate limited increments and messages ID amount. Like you don't have to worry about the sliding window. You don't even have to know what a sliding window is. It is exposed for you to just enter the values you want. And now with concurrency, thanks to tools like, yeah, I think it is PHP Swell. PHP has come a very long way. It's very performant. There's events. Uh, events are very important if you're going to build any future-proof system because you can't directly react to things that are happening in application. Like a lot of things can happen. For example, if a user is registered, instead of manually calling functions, you can just broadcast events, and then listeners handle the events. And this is how systems grow up to be event driven. So from day one, you're building your application with events baked in. And this is so cool. Like you don't have to worry about who receives. It makes it so easy to decouple logic. So when I use this register, for example, we just broadcast user registered event. Then listeners, when you create a functionality, let's say to send emails, you just listen for the event and do the thing. Very easy to scale, very easy to even break down into individual services because it's baked in. File storage done for you, HTTP, mail, security, and another killer feature is the database. They have a very good ORM and stuff. Yeah, I can't stop talking about how Laravel is good in all this for backend framework. But here's my problem with Laravel. So in modern applications, there's an expectation that it has to be reactive. For example, if you go on Twitter and you like a post, you expect automatically that like to be shown on the UI without refreshing the entire page. Yes, you can do this in Laravel. By default, when you're using things like Blade, the templating engine, let me see like views here. So by default, I don't know if they changed. Yeah, so they have a Blade templating language for their thing, which is good. It's SSR by default and stuff. They also have uh yeah, it is good for SSR if you're building a blog and you don't care about interactivity or any other thing. SSR, most of your UI code contains PHP, but in a nice way and cool, right? But if you're building an application that you want that interactivity, the thing that Vue, React, Svelte offers, of course, they have a way of doing it, but their way of doing it is with this tool called Inertia. Inertia.js is doing JavaScript apps the monolith way. I tried this, and yeah, while it works, it brings another problem. So if you want to have like things like SSR, I mean, they have their own way. They added a feature for server-side rendering. Let me just do Command F, SSR, server-side rendering. Okay. Yeah, they added it because they know how important it is. So, but now this added and adds another complexity for how you do SSR. It is so much pain. It is, yeah, you can insert that meme for look at what they have to do to mimic the power that we have. Yeah, so for me, having to deal with this Frankenstein kind of thing, Frankenstein monster kind of application wasn't just good enough for me. So the only other option I had was to do separate backend, separate frontend with Laravel as the backend and Laravel as the backend and my Nuxt.js as the frontend. And for the longest time, this worked well, but when you're working on a solo project, it slows it down a lot of context switching. Let's say you're doing something with the front end, then it directly depends on a feature on the back end. Then you have to go to the other repository, or even if you're doing submodules, it is a lot. It is a lot of work. So what if I can use my favorite thingy to do, the front-end framework of my choice, and that same robust, intuitive front-end framework supports backend. Even though right now it can't match what Laravel offers, but most of the time I don't need all this. Most of the time, the business logic doesn't need all this stuff. It is simple, it is lean. And while I might spend some time maybe doing the authentication logic and stuff, sometimes it is worth it because the part that matters the most in applications, the front end, has been done well. And that is my reasoning behind this. Yeah, so for the next projects, maybe solo projects for like contract work and stuff, I'm going to be doing them with Nuxt. Yeah, so enough talk. So let us try and build something small with Nuxt and see how it goes. All right, so I'm just gonna follow the documentation like I'm new so that to make it clear. So I'm gonna open the terminal here. I like doing it full screen. So sorry, let me reset this. Then yeah, so yeah, let me run that and create. Yeah, let me just name it next step. We gonna use PNPM. Yeah, you can choose the thing you want to use, like PNPM, yarn, band, blah blah blah. But yeah, this is my favorite because I'm still stuck in the node ecosystem. Yeah, now this is the part that sucks. Million dependencies, but the small price you pay. You can't. And yeah, some packages, blah 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 blah. I do not want a Git repository. Okay, let me do this. No, let me not install any. So let us go into our Nuxt app, then open it. So I don't know if the node modules have been installed. Okay, they've been installed. So this is Nuxt. So if you go into the app folder, we only find app.view. There's something wrong with the linter, which this is new Vim problems. It doesn't play nicely with this front-end tooling because they're not created targeting this one, but yeah, I can ignore that. Now, so let us just start npm dev, and let us go to localhost 3000. Voila. So this is our next application. We started it. So as it is, so we're gonna try and so by default, if you check here, we have app.view. So Nuxt does not assume automatically you want to use pages. So if you have app.view, it will not it will not create view router. So when you build this application, it will not have that view router dependency automatically, which I think is a nice touch. Sometimes you just want maybe a landing page. Sometimes you want static content, and yeah, just to yeah. So you can use Next content. You just write your articles or your website in Markdown, then generate it. And yeah, I guess that's cool, but I've never found it enticing enough for me. Yeah. So we're gonna try and okay, let me just open up another. So let me just create another window and then cd next app. Then from here we can let us create our first page. So I just do npx nuxt add page, add page index. So let me create our first index page. And as you can see, creating a page now enables view router functionality. Then if you go back, check on our page, upload view, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so I can safely delete this. It is still used when you want to describe the app shell, but if I want to keep the default app shell, which is an advanced topic, I can safely delete this and now have this page as the index. I don't know what I did there. Let me just do this again. And yeah, so if I go to my pages directory, let me start the server again. All right, so if we go here, yeah, there seems to be an issue with the DevTools, which is another nice feature. But yeah, I hope I'll check the issue later. So this is it. So we have our page name index, and we can of course we edit this. Let's say we can add another paragraph here and say, hello, how are you? And of course, as you expect, it should automatically come here like refresh, blah, 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 and we're good to go. And of course, we can also do a styling here. Like you can say P, font, and family. I don't use shorthands. I don't remember any font family. Let me do Comic Sans and then Night Desires. I don't know any fonts. I don't know any fonts. Let me just do color and say teal. Yeah, I suck at CSS. Yeah. Then we can do font size. Should we use PX? I don't know CSS again, so I'm just gonna do PX to annoy people. Yeah, hello, how are you? So that's it. And we can add our logic here. Like for example, I can do const date equals new date. And I could just do another P here. Or then P, and just do P. Then I can say today is date. Oh, no, 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 no. Curly braces, then do today's date. Blah, 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 East Africa time. You can format this however you want. But yeah, you get the idea of how we compose everything and stuff. And we can also have something like reactive. So we can use a ref. So we can say, so let us go back here. This should be a string. Let me do string or undefined. Undefined. You can do string or undefined name. Then I can do something cool here, like my name is, then do name. So I'm doing a reactivity thingy here. Then I can do input type text. Of course, should be text. Then I can do the model name. So what I've done here, I've created a two-way binding for this value name, and it is of course type safe to whatever it is here. So whatever I type into this text box should change the value of name. Yeah, ESLint is doing its own thing. So I can just do my name is Stanley Masile. Automatically reactive, blah, blah, blah. Reactivity in a nutshell. This is why we use frameworks like this for that kind of reactivity. I should have created a counter like many operations do. But now this is just front-end stuff. Let us do now a cool thing with the backend to see how everything comes together. So let me just come here, then Nuxt add server route. Yeah, you don't have to start with API, but it's a good thing so that logically, because it's a full stack framework, so that it can be easy to reason about. It starts with the API, but you can start with any route. And Nuxt by default to start by checking the server routes before checking the client side one once. So it shouldn't be a problem, but it is just good to do this. So mm, let us say something like hello, and I can say .get because I want to give an example. Okay, next, this new version of Nuxt. Okay, make the, it's so brittle. This should automatically do the thing. But yeah, a lot of work is going on. This shouldn't have happened. It should automatically corrected my mistake. But yeah, I guess this is fine too. So if we go back here to the server folder, we go to routes, we found hello.get has been created. And I want to mention something here. Hello.ts will still work, but it will support any methods. But hello.get automatically creates hello.get.ts. So let us do event. So we can do cool stuff like set. You don't have to set response status. It will automatically be 200 if unless change. But I can just do 200 so that you can use event. Then we can just return. People like returning JSON. So let us do hello user. So just like that, we have our server-side API from the same code base. So we're gonna try in our browser to go to API. Hello. I needed to restart the server. They have a lot of things to iron out. Anyway, so as you can see, I've already created an endpoint which says hello. Yeah, so let us just do localhost. Yeah, maybe I just need to upgrade some few things for it to work. So let us actually now use our API endpoint. So if you go to pages, pages index.view, I could call an API using use fetch, and I get this cool stuff like data, sort of receive, then fetch, then API. So in VS Code, this should be type safe because it will automatically predict the route because it's type safe, but because we chose this path of life, it is just pain. So you don't have to declare the method, but I'm just going to declare get. Then here, I'm just going to do, so one thing about use fetch, when on the server side, it will not make a HTTP request. It will call this this method directly. It will call it as a function, which is a cool thing it does. But on the client side, when you're on the client side, it will make a HTTP request. So that is one of the cool stuff it does. This is ideal if you're doing, let's say, for example, you're rendering a blog. SSR is so easy to do because it will not need to fetch from the client side for you to get the SSR content. It will automatically do it on the server side. And now let us try and do, I'm gonna ignore the rest of the data. Then down here, let us try and do now data. Okay, so let us just do data. Data first. Or let's do data.message because we know the shape. And of course, it wants me data is possibly undefined, but we don't care for now about that. We need to check it. And pending shows you can use it to show the loading. If there's an error, you can use it to do that. If you want to refresh, it exposes the function called refresh. Now, if you go back to your page, it should not embarrass me the way it has done. Yo, I need to JSON pass. Really? Do I need to? Yeah, the message is hello user. I don't know what I was thinking. So let me just do a HR here. Is it a HR or break, line break here? Like the good old HTML so that it can come here. So this is how the server returned. Hello user. Let me delete the rest so that we can. So the server returns hello user, and if you refresh it, it comes with it because it fetches on the server side, does the magic for you, and you're good to go. As simple as that. So this is of course a simple overview of how it is done. Yeah, and by doing this and other cool stuff you can do, like you can create your own server utilities, you can connect databases. Like if you want more information, you can just go to nitro.build and check what else is possible. And one thing you'll notice, the databases, let me just see, for example, experimental, the config reference. I don't know if it's here, default runtime event API token. Yeah, a cool thing like configuration. Doing a deep dive on that today and other stuff that exists. But you can just go to Nitro, check what's possible, and yeah. And yes, I've already deployed a Fullstack Nuxt application in production, and so far so good, except for now one problem. This application, the database setup is super messy. It is painful. It is painful to do. Let me see if I can sneak peek. Okay. I think the best place to show is, let's just close this. Uh, yeah, so I'm upgrading my website. I hope I won't leak anything that I'm not supposed to leak. Am I on dev? Really? Yeah, so I'm kind of in the process of solving that database problem my way. So my go-to database solution is this library called Nuxt, and it has TypeScript bindings despite it not being written in TypeScript at all. So basically, this is uh, a multi-dialect query builder. So if you bring Postgres, MySQL, MariaDB, MySQL2, I don't know what that is, PGNative, Cockroach, Amazon Redshift, Oracle, you don't have to worry about the underlying thingy. And yeah, this is what the factory pattern people were trying to do, this and other things. But now for this, I hate ORMs, especially in JavaScript. But this allows you to do queries directly without an abstraction. So the only abstraction is the database type you're doing. Yeah. So, and of course, because of that, I have to force it into my logic. So for example, if you come to Nuxt config.js, so one thing Next has is migrations down here. And for that, it needs you to install an XCLI, blah, 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 which is a problem. It's a lot of trouble, especially here, because when you compile Nuxt, it compiles everything into one folder called .output, which you need to deploy. And Next can't see the migration files from there, which is a problem. So my solution, which is still in progress, I hope I'll have time to make a video on it. So if we come down here, on the hooks, so I'm listening to a hook called compile, and when the compilation is done, I copy my migrations from the server assets migrations path to the server to the output folder, server migrations. Then I copy recursively so that I can be able to run migrations after deployment in production. So if you go to server, uh, yeah, I put them in assets for some reason, migration. So this is one of my migration. I'm just testing out, it's not ready. So articles, big increment ID. Yeah, so I like Next because I'm able to do stuff like this. And yeah, so far I've been able to do migrations in production, and here's just trials. This is not the final one. So these are some of the tasks. Yeah, you can choose them, you can make them run periodically like a cron, or you can run them manually. So like this one is called db migrate, not because I've named it db migrate, but because the folder is, the directory is db, then the file name is migrate. So it will db colon migrate. Then all it does now is just call next migrate.app, calls my next migrate.app, nothing more. Then this one is now used to make new migrations. So what I'm trying to do here is abstract next, the need of next CLI, because I can call it from the node modules folder and do the thing. So it is me trying to jerry rig things to make it work. And so far, so good. I've done some few migrations. And some of the things I'm working on, for example, is yeah, this is how I'm handling my contact form. Of course, I'm not validating it for now because it's in development. You guys can spam my stanleymasinde.com. For now, you can just spam it. And this is the thing I was trying also last week. It has open API support. So inside the route, you can just describe how the what to expect, blah blah blah, and it will show you it will show the documentation when you go to /open API. As simple as that. So this is it. So I'm just calling a server-side function called handle contact form. Then if you go to handle contact, okay, I forgot the auto imports. Let me do this here. Just close this. Yeah, so it is just a utility. I'm calling node mailer, blah blah blah, and of course I'm hard coding this because I'm still in active development. I'm encoding the email template and doing the stuff, and that is it. So I also have recently added events. The event on my website is hard coded, of course, as I'm trying to do to migrate everything. There's the health stuff, yeah. So the first major project has already been shipped for Nuxt. It has a database and everything, but now this is my website, and this is going to be the next Fullstack Nuxt web project I'm going to do. So everything will be Nuxt. I'll be hosting articles over here and everything else. And yeah, I hope to have a chance to share the journey with you. So this video has gone longer than I imagined. I guess I had so much to say. See you on the next one. Thank you.